Okay, can everybody hear me? Just put your fingers up. We're gonna do a small icebreaker, just a moment to play around with Zoom a little bit. I see that everybody has found the chat, so that's awesome. I'm gonna, let's see, we're gonna do a few questions to see how well you know Nana. One of you guys already answered one of the questions, so hope you guys were all listening. Anyway, thinking about Nana, she was very specific on some of her favorite things, what she likes. So what would you think is her favorite food? So there's 4 options. A, spumoni ice cream. B, fish tacos. C, tomato soup. D, all of the above.
Where do we put it?
And so just answer it in the chat.
Allie, not avocados. That's so true. I think that's the only food she wouldn't eat.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
chocolate too. There is one that we left out too, isn't there?
For not wallet shrimp from Panda. Oh,
Yeah. Yep. Who caught that? Jared. Yep.
Yeah.
We forgot that one.
Good ones. Okay. The answer to this first question is anybody? D. All of the above.
Yay.
Different seasons. At different seasons. She also liked tomato soup. One of the last. Okay. What would you think of her favorite preachers? We have A, Dr. Stanley, B, Dr. Phil, C, Dr. Dobson, D, none of the above. Which one would you think?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, doctors.
D. Okay.
Only 2 doctors. Boy, that's so true, Carrie.
Grandkids. Yeah. I like that one. Okay. So the answer to this question is
Thank
Here
you,
we go.
Cheryl, but it wasn't us.
it's A, Dr. Stanley.
She swore by that guy. That's the devotional that she would read every day, and she wouldn't, if she skipped a day, or like if she didn't have the current day there, then she wouldn't do her devotional because she felt like it was speaking to her every day, and every day was very specific. I couldn't get her to reread old ones.
Okay.
But
we have 2 more questions. Restaurants. What would be your favorite restaurant? A, Jersey Girl Pizza.
woohoo!
B, Panda Express.
Yes,
C, In-N-Out. D, all of the above.
all of
Strange
these.
Love? I don't know that one. Here's where Jared knows.
Anything that serve good food. Totally.
Poor Authority in Grants Pass.
That's, yeah, we didn't know all the names in Grants Pass. Carrie, as long as it wasn't anything with avocado, she'd go.
We visited if she wanted to take us there. Okay. The answer to this question is all of the above. D.
Yay!
Last question. What's your favorite color? A, pink and white. B, orange and blue. C, lavender and teal. D, brown and teal.
Oh, look at those rocking in. Yeah.
Yeah, the lavender and teal.
Wow.
Yes,
You guys did
absolutely.
really well in this one. Well, congratulations. I'm next.
Next is me. We just wanted to take just a moment to really appreciate all of those who visited and called and wrote. You sent candied goods that kept Mom connected to life and made her really feel loved. She thrived on your attention. She amazingly made it through 2.5, is that right? 2.5 or 3 years of living in a residence, and that was through the COVID time. And it was because some of you who are on this call right now, you did not leave her alone. You didn't give her a chance to feel that her life was over. We want to give a special mention to the staff of the Marquee in Forest Grove. They gave her really excellent care. They took time to sit down and talk, just as nurses. Sometimes they would get a book from her and come back and ask her questions. And she really felt loved and cared for there. And then Hull and Hull walked us through a lot of things here towards the end, and they made some special visits there. MJ, that's Wally's wife. She really helped Wally know how to take care of a woman, because he was the main caregiver, visiting almost every day or every other day right here towards the end. We are so appreciative. And they just produced pizza for staff and anybody who visited Nana. We kept finding people who went, "Oh, Jersey Girl Pizza, yeah, we know them," and they would have a pizza on their doorstep right away again. So we want to really thank Wally for the wonderful care he gave to Mom at the end here. We want to thank Martha and all the graphic and historical information that she has continued to feed to us. She knows more about the history of our mom than we do. And there were so many others that treated Nana just as their very own. She had 246 friends on her Facebook page. I actually went through all of them and I took pictures of all of them, but I'm not good enough digitally to have made a mosaic of those and put it on here. But I really wanted to do it because that's the kind of woman she was. She wanted everybody to know who her friends were. She relied so much on you guys, and you came through for her. And she remembered the names of all of her grandkids, great grandkids. She remembered that our birthdays, not of all the grandkids maybe, but at least of all of the kids, right up to the very end. We just want to make sure that you felt thanked and loved. There are going to be some people who are like, "I didn't even know about Nana. I don't know. I don't know how to get a hold of you besides Facebook on many of you." And so please just spread the word, and we're going to be memorializing her Facebook page so they can get on there and see some of these things. But just give us some space. At one point we all said it seems like Nana's immortal, like she's not going to die. And the hardest thing for us was figuring out she is gone. But she's going to live in our heart for a long time. And that's going to be through the memories that you guys share and the pictures and those sort of things. So we just wanted to take a moment to thank you. And if I forgot you, somebody put in the chat who you are, and I'll thank you at some point as we go through this. Okay. I wanted to just take this time to share a little bit about my story with Mom. There seemed to be like there was 4 things that were really important to her. I'm not sure of the order, but I think you guys will all agree. Singing was super important to her. There's a thread through her whole life that any of the stories she tells or the times that she was with us, there's some kind of song that came out in that. Her friends were really important. She's told us more than once that without her friends, she wouldn't have turned out the same. They kept her together, and they kept each other together through hard stuff. Her family, I remember her shortly after the divorce, she said, oh, I wish we could just have family reunions, but it was very hard for a single mom to get, especially men folk, to come to a family reunion. But in these last 4 years, I think we've had 3 or 4 family reunions where about 20 of you guys showed up. We are so proud of all the grandkids. And thank you so much for completing that desire of Nana. And then food. Of course, food was just a way that she celebrated and had so much fun. I'm the eldest surviving child of this one amazing woman, Ethel Melvina Woodman Porterfield Bausman. She died at 97 years old, amazingly sharp in her mind, with more working body parts than Curtis and I put together. She could hear better than my husband. She had more teeth than we had. Her eyesight was better than mine. She's just absolutely amazing. But her heart did start to get tired. She told me that she died twice in this last year. And I believed her. I started reading up on that. One of the things I read was to be sure and ask her what she saw and why she was back here again. And she said, I don't know, but I felt like Peggy and Jesus were not letting me come in because I still had something to complete here on earth. And I asked her, well, what is that? She says, I don't know, but I just want you kids to feel like you can ask me any question you want, and I will be absolutely as honest as I can with you, because I don't want you to wonder about anything when I'm gone. We had so we planned different times for her to share with us, and one of those times we just asked her about her childhood, and as she shared, there were some things that came out about her childhood that were really rough, things that we didn't know. And as she just cried through those times, we all kind of sat quietly going, wow, we don't know how to treat this exactly. At the very end, though, she said, oh, I just feel so good now that I've told you this, because I'm afraid that sometimes you maybe think that life is easy and it's easier just to give up when you hit hard stuff. But I wanted you to know that I had hard stuff in my life, and you can turn that thing around and you can come out on the strong side. I want you to be overcomers, and I want you to learn that side from me too. My mom asked me to write a eulogy and pass it by her to make sure that I said all the right things about who she was and what she did. And we got the obituary, which is posted, will be posted on the Hull and Hull webpage, but also is in the program that's posted on Facebook. That we passed by her, so we know everything's good there. But she was just amazing. She was a control freak, but hid it well. Maybe around chocolate or something, she would feed you that way. She controlled your life and told you what you needed to do. Yeah. Ethel, Nana, mom, friend, singer, seamstress, fashion consultant, grandma, great-grandma, great-great-grandma. She was fun. She was a good listener, authentic, and just made you feel special and understood. She's the kind of mom that when you came home from school, she was there preparing dinner usually. I have not captured that image in my family. She would do a disarming question like, so how was school today? And I would just melt in tears, telling her everything that I did wrong or that had happened to me. And we would sit and talk about that. And that is something that I hope I'm still trying to learn how to do that. This woman just became more amazing in my eyes as life went on. And as the end came closer, it was really interesting to kind of learn. I said to some that I asked her, I said, Nana, please show us how to die gracefully. Don't change. Don't become a grouchy old bitter person at the end. Show us what your values are. And so some of those values, let me see, I'm trying to kind of read this so I don't. some of those values were just being able to talk about anything. She talked a lot about death. That was uncomfortable to some people, but she wanted us, I think, to know that it was just part of life. And to use the time that we have here on earth to the fullest. She walked my dad through his last hour. She was the one that was holding his hand. They'd been divorced for over 30 years, I think. But she was with him when he died. And at the very, very end, he apologized to her for all kinds of things. And they just, watching how she was able to forgive and reconcile with people was something that helped us, I think, as kids, just kind of let a lot of things go, or grant forgiveness to people. We had a story written for her when she was 95. And that's where Randy's going to come in, and he'll share just a little bit about that. I think most of you have that book. We wrote it because at 95, that was the first time we got a call and we thought she was going to die. And then she perked back up as we brought her out of the hospital and took her back into Jasmine, where she was living. And we said, if she doesn't have something to do to keep her busy, she's going to die now. So we started writing this book, and it was to pass out at her funeral. Well, she just didn't die for 3 years after that, or 2 years after that. So we passed that all out. We've passed out about 200 books, if I'm not mistaken. And her message to us was, again, just that you can live, well, a life well lived. And amazingly, in the marquee where she stayed, that was the theme of the place. We didn't know that, but that was right there. You'll see that in one of the pictures in the slideshow, a life well lived. And that became kind of her badge. She taught us to don't hang on to grudges, that'll kill you. She was so careful to help others mourn that once she even went to a funeral of someone she didn't know. And we just laughed about that. She says, oh my God, I went to a funeral, and then I realized about halfway through the funeral that I didn't even know who the person was. I said, Nana, what did you do? She goes, well, I just confessed to the people that I was so sorry. And they said, oh, it's okay. Please stay and have lunch with us. So she did. And she made a whole nother group of friends. This was the kind of woman she was. She had a spiral notebook where she clipped out all kinds of little sayings that she wanted to remember. And that was one of the things that when I would visit her, we would read through that and kind of remember things, that she was self-taught on so many things. She carried, I told you that she carried that devotional book with Mr. Stanley, Dr. Stanley, with her wherever she went, and she would read that. You could tell when she was getting some positive input from somewhere else instead of just being surrounded by death and illness. Yeah, she was 100% fan of her kids. Family was really important. She went to every game, hosted parties, sewed prom dresses, ran a chauffeur service for all her kids, after school activities. She worked hard and consistently taught us values that represent much of my belief system this day. I never did really learn how to cook or sew, but I did some cleaning around, but so that I'm hoping that I picked up some of her other values. Let me just see. I think that was just about it. Mom lived through a Great Depression as a child, World War II as a young adult. She survived breast cancer, a heart attack, a divorce, when divorce was not a word easily spoken in public. She taught us how to think of others as more important than ourselves, and that we were all created equal and worthy of love. She exemplified unconditional love and giving of second chances. She had a great sense of humor. She talked about all kinds of things, and well, we're going to let you guys tell some of the other stories about her. Those are going to come up pretty constantly. But at this point, I'm going to turn our program over to Kenny.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm just going to jump into it. I'm going to read the obituary. I know a lot of you have it written, but we just wanted to read it to honor Nana and her life at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. Longtime Grants Pass resident Ethel Porterfield Bausman died Friday, August 19, 2022. Ethel Malvina Bausman was born to Truman and Ethel Woodman on February 25th, 1925 at home in Providence, Rhode Island, the first of 4 siblings. Ethel and family moved to Long Beach, California when she was 11, and after graduating from Jordan High School in 1943, she studied at Woodbury Fashion College in Los Angeles until the beginning of World War II, when she began work as a secretary at the Naval Shipyard in San Pedro. Comment there, Woodbury Fashion College. I imagine that's where she gets her lavender and teal love from. Maybe not. Keep reading. As a teen, Ethel dreamed of a career in the music industry. And although she never took music lessons or learned to read music, she participated in every competition available to break into the industry as a singer. One highlight included traveling with her mother to New York City to try out for the Arthur Godfrey Show. She was all of 17 years old. During her senior year in high school, Ethel performed on the Al Jarvis radio show in Hollywood, where she was interviewed by vocalist Peggy Lee and Margaret Whitty. Ethel sang with several big bands in Southern California, in places like Balboa Beach, Belmont Shore, and Torrance during her teen years. And her longest gig was entertaining the troops at the local USO in Long Beach. She talks a lot about that, I remember. In 1943, Ethel met Walter Boots Porterfield, a professional golfer. 5 years later, they married and began a family of 4 children, Peggy, Patricia, Betty Jean, and Walter, between 1951 and 1959. They settled in Akanomowak, I hope I said that right, Wisconsin for 7 years, and then moved to Grants Pass, Oregon, where Boots became the golf pro at Grants Pass Golf Club, and Ethel dedicated her life to making a home for her family. The divorce in 1970 obligated Ethel to take a job outside the home. She worked as a secretary at Grants Pass High School, Rogue Community College, and Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, allowing her to stay involved in the lives of her growing and increasingly independent children. In between jobs included secretarial work from a great Century 21 Realty and Griffith's department store, where she finally could use her fashion design training to create beautiful displays. One workday at Griffith's, in fact, the widow of her best friend during college showed up and invited Ethel to lunch. After arriving home in Arizona, Alvin Buzz Bausman called Ethel to declare his love. That began a fairy tale romance that resulted in a second marriage in 1992. Buzz helped launch her second singing career through performances around Arizona. Only 8 years later, she lost her biggest fan with the untimely death of Buzz, but she honored him by continuing to sing privately and publicly. When Ethel was widowed in 2001, she moved back to Grants Pass and began a new season, living life to the fullest with get-togethers with many of her old and new friends of all ages, traveling to see her children and friends, and sneaking off on road trips by herself in her beloved Subaru that we found out she parked very well, parallel parking apparently. Especially gratifying were her gigs with her musical soulmates, the Serenaders. Life changed with a move in 2021 to Forest Grove, Oregon, to be closer to her family. Even amid the COVID pandemic, she was the trooper, making the best of her swan song, staying in touch with family and old friends with 2 phones, mail, email, widow visits, and finally window visits, and finally in-person visits, including uplifting family reunions. Ethel loved life. She loved her family, her friends, and her Lord. And yes, she always had a song in her heart. You know, I had the wonderful privilege to fly out to Hillsborough just a couple years ago, less than a couple years, to spend some time with my Nana. And at 96, she was still the same bubbling, loving, caring Nana that I had always known. She always made me feel like the most loved, accepted, and admired grandson in person. And I'm pretty sure she made all of us in this room feel like this, like we were the most important person in the world right then for her. At the same time, she managed to be the center of all our attention. In fact, but while we were there, she managed to organize us all around. There were like maybe 25, 30 of us family members that happened to be there and friends. She organized us to give a concert where she sang for the whole center she was at. surrounded by great grandkids, and as happy as I've ever seen her. She managed to find joy in every circumstance. I'm so honored to have known and been loved by Nana. And honestly, it's really sad for us to lose her, and I'll miss her deeply. Thanks, Nana, for reminding us how to love and care for each other throughout your whole life and your example. We will miss you.
Courtney, I don't know if you're able. You want to give it a try? Court, I
She
don't-
said she was really kind of stressed out, Pia.
Okay,
She didn't want to talk.
okay. Then we're gonna move right to Randy. Thank you, Randy.
Before June of 2020, Ethel and I had never met. We were complete strangers. Yet 2 years ago, Ethel Woodman Porterfield Bausman snuck into my heart. For 6 months, we met regularly to unpack her story, and I began to write it down. I saw glimpses of her soul. And even in the midst of COVID, change, discomfort, and pain, I saw strength, peace, and joy. Ethel even encouraged me during our brief time together. A quip I'm going to long remember is she said this: I don't think I get depressed. Although I was depressed once last week, I didn't like it. So I decided not to. That kind of made me laugh. Her incredible spirit modeled to me a life well lived. She was positive, she loved, forgave, and then moved on. Even though we never met in person, she became my dear friend. Then I discovered a bit more to our relationship. A few short months after we finished her story, I got some interesting news. I learned that my great-great-grandmother was a Porterfield. And you know it? I'm distantly related to some of you too.
We're not sure which ones you really want to say that you don't know.
That you're related to.
As I reflected on a way to honor a lady who deeply impacted lives, I'm just going to end with this tribute to Ethel that I wrote that's simply called Her Voice. Her voice was more than words. She showed strength through trials and hardships, trusting God for things she didn't know. Her boundless love was freely given. Forgiveness came that way too. Her voice was more than a song. A smile bubbled up through each tune. She brightened the day of those who listened. Her heart being her greatest instrument, it sung a melody, strong, lovely, and true. Her voice oozed from the depths of her soul. What you saw is what you got. Wisdom was gained from the school of hard knocks. She had a spirit that overcame fears, rather than encouraging others, not on pity, spite, or self. Her voice touched all she encountered. She made friends readily and did so for life. Adding zest and fun was quite natural. She preferred dessert at the beginning instead of the end. Of course, made us laugh. Mostly, she modeled a legacy of love, a gift for those she left behind. We watched as her energy slowly waned, but now she's completely well. Though she'll be deeply missed by each of us, memories will echo loudly of the things she did and the words she said. The memory of her spirit will nudge us through our grief to rejoice and celebrate with heaven the life that she lived well, reminding us that even in the silence, we can still hear her voice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randy. And we will try to post that on
Okay.
Facebook. But BJ, is there anything else you want to share about Nana?
You know, I did a minute ago, but now I don't remember what it was. It was something really cool, but really cute about Nana. I
But you will jump
can't
in,
remember what it
right?
was. I just thought,
You
huh?
will jump in when you remember.
Right, when I remember it, yeah. You know, it was something like it made me smile. It was like that happens all day long though. So
Keep typing in the chat. Ellery has prepared something special for us, and so I wanted to
oh, awesome.
pass it to Ellery.
Thanks, Patty. Hello, everyone. It's great to be together. So originally I was going to read a poem dedicated to Nana and like her soul and journey, transition. And then I could just hear her voice like, oh, Elle, I'm fine. Just take care of everybody else. So yeah, in the spirit of Ethel, I would like to just read a poem for everyone that she loves and who loves her, whether she was your mother or not, in the hope that it brings some comfort. It's called Your Mother is Always With You by Deborah Culver. Your mother is always with you. She's the whisper of the leaves as you walk down the street. She's the smell of certain foods you remember, flowers you pick, the fragrance of life itself. She is the cool hand on your brow when you're not feeling well. She's your breath in the air on a cold winter's day. She is the sound of the rain that lulls you to sleep, the colors of a rainbow. She is Christmas morning.
Mhm.
Your mother lives inside your laughter. She is the place you come from, your first home. She's the map you follow with every step you take. She is your first love, your first friend, even your first enemy. But nothing on earth can separate you. Not time, not space, not even death. Nana.
Wow. God, I appreciate you guys sharing so much.
Yeah.
Jared,
I don't know,
this was
Jared,
really
that-
smart for me just to give it to the kids.
In true living embodiment of the fact that, you know, Nana will live on through all of us, they would like to be the center of attention. I'm not trying to be the
Yes.
center. Maybe this guy is, so. So, you know, I you know, Kenny, I think, said it really well, that Nana always had a knack for making us feel so special. And there's so much of herself that she gave to all of us. She really didn't have much in terms of worldly possessions, but it somehow didn't matter. What she gave us was so much more than. It was just these little things. Several years ago, when we had one of Nana's scares where we thought, this is it. And I packed up the family and we drove from California to Oregon. And what a trip that was. I think it took us about 16 hours to drive all the way up there. We bought Preston at the time. He was our only child at that time. Buy him some gummy bears to hold him over for the 16 hours on the way up there. And about an hour and a half into the trip, we looked back and all the gummy bears were gone. He had already eaten all of them.
That's like Nana.
And then about 2.5 hours into the road trip, he said, "I don't feel so good." And he threw up into a little fast food paper bag that promptly started leaking. That was the start to our 16-hour drive, which I don't think my car ever recovered from that. And that was one of many trips that we made up to go see Nana. And I remember constantly being asked, is there anything you want to take to remember Nana by? And I didn't know. I didn't know what the answer to that was. I didn't know what one memento to take to remember her by. In July, we were lucky enough to go and see her for the final time and share some moments with her. And first off, Wally, I can't thank you and MJ enough for being there for her in her final days. One of the final conversations I had with her, she brought you up, Wally, and she described you. Her words were, "That is the perfect man right there." And anyway, I discovered this. So back in 1998, my Nana bought me this Bible here with my name inscribed on it. There's this thing called the Promise Bible, and it was something that I carried with me for a very long time. She inscribed in it, "Jared, I trust this Bible will bring you enjoyment and guidance for your future. I have found my own Bible to give me daily strength to tackle each day if I read a scripture or two each morning, and it guides me through the day. I love you, Nana." And my wife will tell you one of my faults is that I, for whatever reason, I love to collect Bibles and have a hard time sticking with one particular Bible for longer than a couple of years. This Bible was one that has been the exception to that rule, and one that has stuck with me for a very long time. We move a lot. Things get packed away, and this Bible was packed away. And recently we moved to Florida. We were cleaning our garage and I found it again. And I found it thankfully just in time for us to make our trip out to Oregon to go see her for the final time. And I was able to read from the Bible back to her and to thank her for perhaps what is the best gift that she's ever given me, and the thing that will always remind me. When my mom would pack some things up and try to find mementos for me, she found a variety of things which just spoke to the heart of who Nana is, including when I was young, she encouraged me to draw, and she encouraged me to paint. Just, do what you love, Jared. And I painted this picture that she entered into an art contest, and she entered a couple of them in there. sometimes I'd get participation trophies, and sometimes I'd actually win something. And she kept every single ribbon. Every. She just had quite the ability to make somebody feel so incredibly important. And for that, we'll always be thankful. And I will miss her dearly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jared.
Okay,
Yeah, just a beautiful post on Facebook too. One of the things that BJ and I at least have talked about is just, it's been so wonderful for us to be able to get to know each other's families more. And we want to see that continue. You know, we were going to split everybody into smaller groups so everybody had a chance to share. And but we just wanted to, I'm enjoying hearing everything. I'm so afraid I'm going to miss what we might hear. Can I just get an idea of anybody else that might want to share so we can just kind of see if we can do it? So Debbie, if you can use a emoji, that would be neat. Debbie, Annie Lee wants to share something. Is that what I saw? If we can, yeah, some are saying this is going to go too long and you guys will get bored. This is kind of the last activity, is just letting you share, and then we have a 5-minute slideshow. And oh, we do have a reflection. Yeah, it's a party. But let's go ahead and try and just try to limit yourself, okay, to 2 minutes. Because if Chloe wants to share, I mean, I want to see it, and I don't know if I would be broken off into her one. So Annie Lee or Debbie, you want to start us off?
go ahead. Hi, everybody. This is so new to me. It's so wonderful to see all of the family that Annie Ethel had and does have. She was such a blessing in all of our lives. And in my children's life also, she will always, always be Annie Ethel. I love you all.
And for me, I just want to say, we send our condolences because your mom was so amazing. Auntie Ethel, well, she'll always be my Auntie Ethel, and I'm so thankful for her. She just was always bright sunshine. I remember Saturday mornings, Mom and I going into Griffiths, and there she'd be. And I remember watching Walter and Uncle Boots at the Pro-Am, and my mom and Annie Ethel always stayed friends even after the divorce. And I was just so thankful for that. And so now as adults, I'm so thankful that we've stayed in contact with PL and BJ recently, and hopefully Walter will be coming out and having pizza soon. And, you know, I'm just so thankful for our whole family and all of the kids that are now grown and new kids coming and all of that. So we're just very thankful and very blessed for all of you.
Thank you so much. Debbie.
Thank you. I'll make it short and I'll put a long post on Facebook at some point. I was one of Peggy's best friends, and I was an adopted sister to the children, and have many memories of spending the night and going camping. One of my favorite memories was Ethel teaching Peggy and I, after we'd caught this huge bucket of catfish up at the lake, how to skin catfish with this really strange contraption that was in the trailer. So, you know, you catch, and my dad was still cleaning my fish, but at the Porterfield house, you cleaned your own fish and you skinned those suckers for the feast that we were going to have. And so that was really fun. But Ethel's influence on Peggy's in my life was constant. There were constant life lessons at every corner. I remember when Peggy was a newlywed, and Ethel came over with a heart for cooking and teaching, talking to us about how to cook it was Peggy and Al's first apartment. And so we were having a life lesson about how to cook beef heart for dinner and why I was so healthy. And at the same time, she was giving us a newlywed budget lesson on, if you can't, and Peggy had said like, well, you know, we just don't have a whole bunch of money right now. She and I only made $1.05 an hour at that time, which was really high because we used to only get 35 cents an hour for babysitting everybody. So we felt like we were pretty darn rich. But anyway, I think there was a $10 bill that had to be paid. And Peggy said, I've only got $3, you know, for that bill. I paid all the bills, but I really can, you know, we need to eat and we need to have gas money. And Ethel said, well, this is how you do it. You give that $3, you write a nice letter, you send those $3 and say, I'm sorry, I can't pay the full $10, but I will make payment arrangements with you and call you at a convenient time. And then if you still can't make it the next time, you make sure you pay $1 extra in the next bill to pay on the pass. So, but that letter was crucially important. So we had that budget lesson. Now, the other thing was I felt that she taught me was just grace in many, many, many ways in how to negotiate the social pecking order in Grants Pass. And for those of us who grew up in that, if you were across the river, now if you lived towards the golf course, you were rich. If you lived up on the hill north of town, you were rich. That the rest of us across the railroad tracks or whatever, there was a pecking order. And as that woman gracefully negotiated being kind to every single, the snooty snoots and the poorest poor, we were kind to everyone. She was kind to everyone and practiced what she preached about that. She was never better than anybody. No one was better than us. And Peggy and I were talking about being popular at South Junior High one time. And boy, did we get our ears boxed. Popularity is a big responsibility, and you be kind to everybody. Your mission in this life is not to stand out, but to be part of and to care and lift everybody up and let them all feel important. And I carried that all my entire life. The other graceful thing is when she was marrying Buzz, I remember after the divorce, she lost all this weight. And I have a picture of it that I'll post as soon as I can find it, because it was, I have a picture of Ethel who'd lost all of her weight, and thinking that was part of why there had been a divorce, because she was too big. And then she lost all this weight and she was feeling pretty good about herself. But then she came to a real healthy understanding about the weight. It wasn't the weight. You know, he had done the bad, not her. She was still a wonderful person. And so then when she started gaining her weight back, she was still okay because she had come to terms with it. She was a beautiful person. But so I have a picture of Ethel and Peggy and Vicki Button and I, and it was when Ethel was young, that was important. But then when she got married, I had the double blessing of being able to coordinate her wedding. And it was such a wonderful thing, and inspired me now at 71 that, you know, it's not over until it's over, that you can still be loved and find love later on in the years. And I was really super happy for that, for her. And my final remark was that this one's hard for me because I feel like I represent Peggy. Ethel's anxiety, we had many talks when Peggy died, and about how she felt so responsible, because not responsible, but sad that Peggy had to die and she didn't. It was really a hard struggle for her. So we had I tried to comfort her and whatever, but then so we got down to the business. Well, we have to bury Peggy, and this was hard deal. And she was concerned about Peggy, how she was going to look in the open casket thing. And she said to Carol Curran, Carol and I, can you girls do her makeup? Now, you have to understand that not everybody wants to go in there and do that kind of thing. And we loved Peggy, and we knew what she looked like. But because Mother had tasked us with this skill, this duty, to go make Peggy look her best in her own makeup, And she had done her nails before she married, before she died. So her nails were all done. We didn't have to do that. But it was Ethel's strength of asking us and us just accepting that duty to go do Peggy's makeup for her. And then I had the honor of being the very last one to see Peggy before she was buried. And Mother asked me to make sure that the white horse that one of Betty Jean's sons had given was in Peggy's hands. And I want you to know, whichever son, I don't remember it was Shane or Jared, but one of the Betty Jean's boys had given Peggy a horse for heaven. And so I was able to make sure that that was there, and for Mom, that she was there, and I put the grass over her, and Mother, that made Mother happy because she wanted to leave. And so every year that we would go, we would meet at Peggy's grave and have some wonderful talks. So your mother was concerned about you every single, even during your passing, and she was a beautiful woman, and gave all of us who were honored enough to be part of the family wonderful life lessons as well. You are all wonderful people, and it was an honor to be part of the family.
Thank you so much, Debbie. You've been there through the whole thing. Yeah. I have the Thurmans and Rich and Becky. Was there anybody else besides that who wants to share? Let's go with the Thurmans then, okay? Just try to keep it short so everybody can talk at once.
Kim Thurman, and I got to work for Boots in 1967. Of course, I know all the kids and just loved them, but it's very hard to talk. Every one of you did a great job. She was a very wonderful person. And I'll catch on to it. I won't cry. I get slapped by her probably. But the idea would be that I've got to share my life with the Porterfields. And it was great. And there's a lot more that could be said, but you said a lot of it from all of you. So I have my daughter, Lori, and she was the only child there in 1967, and her mother, Sherry. And then we moved back to Reading. Just shortly after that, my son, Kimmer, he's here. And then we had Chris back in Grants Pass when I went to work in Grants Pass Golf Club as a head pro. And he was born in Josephine County Hospital there. So that's a little history here. And then I like to say hi to Lee. Haven't seen you in a long time, girl. Long time. And of course, and you girls haven't seen you in a long time either. But Lori liked to share something, and I'm just very proud to be a part of your family.
We love you, Kim.
Hi, I'm the daughter. So the story I want to tell, I'll keep it short, but she's such a special part of our life because she's like a grandma to us. And we were so little when we were in Grants Pass, and my mom would take us over to visit her, and she would always like let us pick the cherries off her cherry tree and go get the berries off the berry bushes. And my favorite was the cinnamon rolls that she would make for us. And I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, I asked her if she could give me that recipe, and she actually wrote it out for me. I have that recipe. So, but it's really special because my little brothers, I mean, we'd go see Ethel all the time, but they couldn't say Ethel. So they would say waffle. So we know her as Waffle, and to this day we call her Waffle. And so even my son Jared calls her Waffle. And we've stayed in touch and visited her, and the conversations I've had with her, she was just such an amazing being on this earth. And I just appreciated her spirit so much, and positive, and she always was caring and wanted to know what was going on in our lives, and just appreciated us. And I loved every visit. Oh, yes. And my husband says it in a model for all of us. So thank you. And I love your
waffle from you guys. Who was Nana Banana?
Nana Banana was one of the grandkids. I think, was it Jared? Was it your kids?
I think,
she
I think
had
it's
Nana Banana.
all of us, because she'd end up at my house. And I remember Shane saying once, he says, I say Nana, and you both turn and look. I said,
Oh,
"Okay,
yeah.
so we have to come up with a Nana Banana or something, you know." So she ended up Nana Banana to my boys and my grandkids, because I'm a Nana too. So it was always, we had to differentiate.
And real quick, so Patty and BJ, which I know them as PL
and
BJ, and then Wally. Well, hi Wally. Anyways, the girls are babysitters, so it's just fun just being able to stay in touch and just see how Waffle kept us together all these years.
Yeah, so it is amazing.
Yeah,
it is amazing. Hey, who was it? Is it Amber, or is it
Tyler.
Jaden? That Tyler. Thank you.
Hi guys. So I got a short little quick one that I know Courtney remembers too. I'm a little nervous to, you all know most of you very well, but I feel like Nana deserves it. So it was the first time she took me and Courtney out to Ben and Jerry's, and they just come out with, what was it, blue raspberry ice cream or something like that. It was very, very blue. And she took us there, and we were most excited that we've ever been. And it's crazy that that's like one of the main memories that me and Courtney had ever stuck with. When we left that place and our faces were just plastered in blue ice cream.
It sounds better than the Spumoni stuff that she ate. Huh?
Yeah, I think she got pistachio. She had a thing for pistachio ice cream. And that wasn't the first time we ever went out to go get ice cream, but the first time she ever took us was probably the greatest time I ever had eating ice cream.
Yep. We were staying blue for like 24 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was funny.
You're making me think how she did a lot of those kind of first things, you know. She took our kids out to the first bras, the first piercing of the ears, the first all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Mom and Dad actually still have a picture. The one time she took me out shopping for myself, and I made her spend quite a bit of money.
Kenny, do you remember the time she took you shopping? And she didn't realize that we don't have cars over here, that she had to get a taxi and there was no shopping carts. And so they
I kind of do.
Yeah,
I kind of do actually.
But she did a lot of good things like that. Hey, let me move us through, because I want to be sure you guys can all stay to see the slideshow, especially. Carolyn, you said you had something.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm a person of very few words, and I want to first let you know that it means so much for me that you are so generous to open this up to share this special time. And I've just kind of been writing this down as I've been sitting here listening. As Randy put so well, Ethel was more than a voice. Some people in life make a big impact. Apparently she did for me. Beginning in about 1960, my earliest grade school years, I was in school with Patty, and we were friends, and I got to have some sleepovers there. Ethel was part of the sleepover. She wasn't just a mom. And I remember always thinking, I wish my mom was like that. So just over through the years, Grants Pass High School, Griffiths, and random bump-ins, her face was always bright, and it's just a feeling about her that she gave you. And I kind of wanted to listen to this to see if there's something more that I could learn about her, to learn about her traits so that I could become a better person as well. But thank you. My sympathies to the family and all the friends, and many prayers of comfort. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn, for being here. Yeah. And Rich and Becky.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Patty's brother-in-law, Curtis's brother, and you'll see a number of people here with the last name Cluett. And we've adopted Ethel along the way as part of our greater family. It's a privilege to join with you as we remember her life. And I just wanted to say one or two quick things about her impact and about our memories of her. And I really enjoyed the stories that I hear here during this time. I've also heard a lot of stories as Curtis and Patty have traveled back and forth over the last couple of years to visit with you all. And it gives a picture of the Ethel that we knew and a more complete picture of the Ethel that you know. One of our special times was several years ago when my mother was facing her last days, and Ethel and Patty, the dynamic duo, spent time with her.
It's true.
We put my mother in their care in Hawaii for, I think, 2 weeks, which was an act of faith. And there was more joy and laughter and stories that came out of that experience. And for us that could not spend that time with my mother, who was dealing with brain cancer and was dealing with the issues around that, it gave us comfort, it gave us surprises. And when I went and visited them, it was just an extraordinary experience. And so we treasure that. So she had an impact beyond the family. She was a special friend to my mother. And then since my mom and dad are gone, I like to have a special memory of them that makes me smile. And that has helped me over the years when something would come up and I would just think of that memory and smile. There's a couple I could think of with Ethel, but the thought that I would leave is when I think of her now, I just imagine her welcome as she goes to heaven and meets with those that have gone before her, with my mom and dad and grandmother and uncle and others that are there. I just imagine the joy and the noise and the chaos and the dreams that are part of that, and her chance to see her Lord face to face, not dimly, and a chance to enjoy that forever. And that brings a smile to my face, and it gives me joy. Thank you.
That was such a funny thing. There was one time Nana and I had to sleep together on the couch, and she was like, don't touch me during the night at all. And then, but she would get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet and fall asleep on the toilet. And I thought she died. I would reach over and she wasn't there. I thought she's given me some freaky experiences a lot, but those carried us through some of those laughter times as we cared together. Courtney, yes. Courtney, yes.
Okay, my story will make you laugh instead of cry. You might cry from laughing, but as we all know, Nana had beat breast cancer, but at the cost of a double mastectomy. And we went to visit her one time. I think it probably was with my dad. I honestly can't remember who I was with, but I was sleeping in. And
it was with Shanna.
We know what's coming.
Something flying across the room and smacks me in the face. And I woke up and I picked this thing up. It was all squishy. And I was like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden I'm being smacked in the face with something else. And she's like, wake up. And it's her fake boob. She's just smacking me with it, trying to get me to wake up. And so she
Yep.
throws it at me for her. I think she smacked me awake first, and then I went back to sleep and she chucked it from across the room and it hit me in the face. And when I found out what it was, I was like, so confused, and she's laughing so loud. And that was just one of my main memories of her, because she's just so funny, and she knew she was so funny, and she was cracking up.
Yeah.
That's one of my stories that I love her.
Oh, you guys, this is wonderful. Are you ready to cry? Have a good cry? We're going to put a little memorial slide on. And then we have one more song. And I thank you guys so much. I really wanted to hear some of these stories and how my Nana, my mom, had affected you. Thank you so much. Am I missing somebody? Allie and Chloe? I'm getting some direct messages here. They're wanting to hear from other people, I guess. Does anybody else want to share?
We can, but if we need to get to the slideshow, that's okay too.
I think we want you to share.
You want us to share?
Yeah.
Short.
Sweet. Chloe wanted me to share.
Really?
She doesn't want to talk. We're not good talkers, but we just wanted to say thank you, and meeting Ethel was such a it was a blessing, because I'd lost my grandma right before we not good at it right before we met her. And so she loved all the similar things that our Grammy loved, and she loved ice cream. Yes, she loved ice cream and the Nutcracker, and shooting her photos for her 90th birthday and finding out we had the same one was really special. So that'll always be with us, and sharing the birthday too is just such a special feeling. So
I don't think people knew that you were the photographer for all the glamour pictures.
The glamour
that we have.
pictures, yes.
Yeah.
I gotta find the one with the fur hat. There's one with a fur hat somewhere, I swear, but she loved the one with the flower wall.
Yeah,
But so her 90th birthday was her friend had her photos done, and that was and then birthdays, who knew? So
yeah,
it was awesome. Wonderful.
Carol, you wrote something in the chat, and well, I guess I know who you are because of what you wrote. Do you want me to just read it, or would you like to read it so that we can really hear from you?
Hi. No, feel free to go ahead and read it. I just didn't want to take up any of the precious time.
Thank you.
This has just been beautiful. Thank you.
Time is what we want, isn't it? Kat worked with Mom back in the days of Griffith. She was such a vivacious woman with high energy, optimism, and very kind, and worked alongside Mary Lou. That was decades ago, but I have such fond memories of that time. And I somehow found Ethel on Facebook a while back and have really enjoyed keeping up on her adventures. I so appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm deeply sorry for your loss. You have all touched me with your heartfelt love for Ethel. Thank you for your grace and humor today. Sending virtual hugs to all of you. This is an amazing tribute. I think so too. And I just so appreciate all of you guys, breaking through the uncomfortableness of a Zoom and being here and sharing. And Jean-P, are you ready? Get your Kleenexes ready.
Let me just introduce Jean-Pierre, who is Christina's husband, has worked hard on a slideshow with a lot of people he didn't know. Get your Kleenex ready, because it will move you. Jean-P.
Until sentimental turning, gonna set my heart at ease, gonna make sentimental turning to relive got my bag, I got my reservation. I stand each time I could afford, like a child in wild anticipation. I want to hear that all over. I love all the many charms about you, Minty. I love all I put my
There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone who'll watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could always be good to one who'll watch over me. Won't you tell him please to put on some speed, follow my lead, oh how I need someone to watch over me. Someone to watch over me.
Just going to give a moment to recover. She was a sweet lady, watched over many of us. And I asked to be able to give a short reflection before we end with another song. And I know everybody in this Zoom will remember distinct things about Ethel. For me, there were three things. One, she loved music and singing. Two, she had a very strange sense of humor, as Courtney has enlightened us. And number three, she had a hope. She was a hopeful person. She hoped there was life after divorce. She hoped that a son riding in a car with bullet holes in the sides and a radiator that had to be filled every morning just to get to school would one day grow up to be a responsible adult. She had hope that a batch of chocolate chip cookies could somehow convince a mechanic to fix her car. And today we contemplate another hope she had, a hope that there was life after death, an eternal question for all of us to be sure. To people of faith, the idea of a life after death is a no-brainer. Simply going to happen, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. But when pressed for details, things can get kind of sketchy. For instance, how can cremated ashes strewn over an ocean or a golf course be somehow gathered together and made whole again, when some ashes may be in the stomach of a passing bird or sunk to the bottom of the sea, or even resting on two different continents? That's a good question. And this is not a new discussion. Even back in the first century, the Greeks and others couldn't make sense of it. It's decided there really was no resurrection, so no problem. And the Apostle Paul said something in his letter to the Corinthians that speaks clearly about this question. For if the dead are not raised, then not even Christ has been raised. And if Christ has not been raised, your faith is worthless. Then also those who have fallen asleep in Christ have perished. If we have hoped in Christ only in this life, we are of all people to be most pitied. For those logically oriented, this has always been a tough question. Can we truly place faith, death, heaven, an eternal dimension that we can see, touch, or hear? My own struggle with this question was put to rest in a university physics class at UCLA quite a few years ago. The professor was explaining some of the basics of Einstein's theory of relativity, and to be honest, neither I nor the professor really knew everything about that theory. But two things were made clear. In order for the famous equation E equals mc squared to be true, as any speeding object approached the speed of light, two weird but distinct things had to happen. Number one, time slowed down. Number two, the size of the object would get bigger and bigger until its mass became infinite. As the professor droned on, some lights went on in my head. We read in the scriptures that God is light. That's interesting to me. If he is light, or light is somehow part of his character, that means he can travel at that speed. And the other thing is, the Bible says that God lives in an eternal dimension. That's a tough one for us too. But if what Einstein said is true, anything that lives at the speed of light, there is no time. It is eternal. As I sat in that classroom, I just shook my head and said, wow, Einstein finally came up with a logical proof, a logical explanation for how there could even be an eternity and how spiritual beings could exist, because anybody who lives in that dimension can't have a physical body. It's a place where time stands still. I don't know where Ethel is right now. I don't think anyone can say for sure. Is it in some black hole or someplace outside the physical universe? I can't tell you. But one thing I can tell you is that Ethel's faith, Nana's faith in her family, in her kids, in the existence of eternity is not in vain. She had this hope. And my hope is that each and every one of us will gain this same hope before life is through, with one less logical obstacle to overcome. I'm betting that Nana's out there somewhere, maybe up there, maybe out there, not dragging around a body racked with pain and circulation problems anymore, but in exactly what the creator of the universe promised: a new body, a new package, living in a new dimension. Exactly where and how it all works, here's the phrase: I can only imagine.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes would see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I will do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine. Yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you will still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah?
Thank you all so much for coming and for telling all these stories and just sharing some time together, and the spirit of Nana together. I was talking to my uncle Wally as we were listening to this and saying, you know what? There's one thing that could define Nana, it's unconditional love, and how she showed that to all of us. She didn't preach it, she lived it. And we were saying, you know, if there's one prayer we'd want to pray at the end of this, is that some of that unconditional love would rub off on us, and that would be the legacy that we can live out to others. So that's my prayer. Mom asked me to kind of end with something. I just wanted to share that and to pray that with all of us. May the unconditional love that Nana lived out with us, may some of that rub off on us with each other and with others. I think we want to wrap up with this, and I'm not sure there's anything else, or if anyone else wants to say something or just stay around for a while and share a story or two, you're welcome to do that. We also wanted to respect folks' times because I know you have to run off to other stuff. But thank you so much for sharing some of this time and just reminding us of who she was and how much we'll miss her, and how grateful we are to have been able to touch a bit of heaven through this wonderful woman. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, if any of you want to say something or say goodbye, that's fine. You can open your mics. But
thank you so much. That was great.
So great to see all you guys.
Hi, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thurman, say goodbye. Thank you. We love you.
Glory, bye Kim, bye Sherry. We love you guys.
Shirley Kincaid, thanks for making way to get onto Zoom. You did it.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for letting me share.
Love you guys.
Martha, thanks so much for all your work behind the scenes. You've just been a wonderful friend clear to the end and beyond the end.
She's
Yeah.
still working.
She's still working some stuff.
She's got some assignments.
Yeah, definitely. This is
All right, guys, I worked until about 4 a.m. last night. I'm gonna go back to bed.
Thank you for
I
sharing.
wish I had something I could throw at you, Courtney. Wish I could throw something at you.
It better be a boob.
pretty sure he doesn't have those.
All right, bye, guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Sleep well.
Thank you.